Just because you talk every day doesn't mean you have a strong voice or that you're even speaking properly. And speaking every day is not the same as singing every day. So let's chat about vocal management as a singer, and let's talk about how much work you might be putting your vocals through on a day-to-day basis. When I think about my vocals and my vocal cords and the strength of my vocals and how well I'm able to deliver a performance, I think of my vocal cords being similar to how my body is with fitness. Anytime I want to get stronger, anytime I want to tone something, or I just want to look a little better or feel a little different, I go to the gym and I work out. Same thing with my vocal cords and my singing voice. If I want my voice to get better, then I need to make sure that I am exercising it. I need to make sure that I'm putting a little bit of stress on it to challenge it, to grow it, to stretch my range, to smooth some things out. And that's how we get better as singers. What are some things that matter when it comes to vocal load management? I'm going to break this down into a few parts. One being frequency, how often you are singing. One being load is how much demand you are putting on your voice. The next being form and technique, which is how are you achieving certain sounds? Are you doing it properly or are you straining? And then the next is recovery and overall care. How are you caring for your voice? How are you caring for your body? What are you doing after a performance and all of those good things? So let's jump right into this chat. First up, let's talk about the frequency, which is how often are you singing? When it comes to how often you are singing, you want to think about everything to include your own personal practice when you're by yourself, any rehearsal times you may have, and any official performances that you might go through. For me, myself, I sing at least 20 minutes each day. And a lot of times that will just be me singing along to my favorite songs, or if you're like a theater type of kid or you're like truly a jukebox type of person, you're just singing randomly songs throughout the day. That's very much me. So not necessarily any like form or like structure, but I get at least 20 minutes of vocal usage in my singing voice when I'm singing random things around the house, up to an hour every day when I'm really locked in on actually practicing a particular song. Next up, I have rehearsals once a week. And vocally, I might be singing for anywhere from 2 to 3 hours at those rehearsals. And then for official performances, live shows that I'm doing, I will do that at least once a week. And those shows will range anywhere from 2.5 to 4 hours of singing. With those things in mind, vocal load management is basically going to tell us how much effort or how much we should push each time we are doing certain things. So for me, right, anytime I am doing rehearsal for a show, I'm not going full out with my voice. I'm not singing to my full capacity because typically the rehearsals are 2 days before the show. I don't want to do too much and mess up my vocal cords before a show. So I'm not going full out. There will be some songs that if I really need to touch them up, then I will make sure that I'm performing it how it's supposed to be, like all out. But for the most part, I'm not going all out in my singing voice and in choreography when I'm at rehearsal. It's really just for me to understand how I am approaching something. But when I get to the show, that's when my energy is going all out. There is such a thing as pacing yourself and seeing how much energy, how much effort you are exerting from show day to rehearsal to personal practices to just fooling around at the house. So when you're thinking about vocal load management as an artist and figuring out how much effort you want to give, think about how often you are singing, how long you are singing for, and that's going to inform how much of a load you can place on yourself for each of those instances. Next up, let's talk about the load. And this is how much you are demanding from your voice, how much effort, how much force, how much air, just all around. How are you approaching a song? So for vocal load management, as I mentioned with the frequency, it really depends how often you are singing and what the expectations are for each of those different instances where you might be singing. Is this a live situation? Are you messing around? Is this a rehearsal? There are different percentages of effort that I would say that I give. When I am rehearsing for myself at home, I might give anywhere from 50 to 100%. And a lot of times it's me just playing around and trying to figure out my own limits in the comfort of my home. So it might range anywhere between those two percentages, between 50% effort and 100% effort. When I'm practicing at home, I believe that I have enough days in between my personal practices and the final show to where anything that I do in between that time is not going to mess me up for my official performance. But I'm also keeping in mind that I do want to challenge myself. I do want to play around and see how far I can take my voice. So playing is actually very important, but do be mindful of when you are doing that and how much effort you are giving. When I'm at these rehearsals once a week, I might be giving 75%. So a good amount of effort, but not a lot, not complete effort, because I only have 2 days before show and I need my voice to have enough time to rest and repair. The same way that your muscles would need some time to repair and rest after a really good workout. And then on show days, I'm giving 100%. Sometimes I might even give 120%, just depending on how I'm feeling. But I do have to be mindful at shows as well. How hard am I pushing? And do I need to push for every single song? Do I need to hit every single note? Do I need to approach every song the same way that the original artist did it? And I don't necessarily need to. So I'm often deciding right there at the show, or rather when I was rehearsing, I've decided. And then at the show is when I actually put those things into action. So I might give 50% of my vocal capacity to one song. I might give 100%. I might push more on one song. I might give softer notes on another. I'm keeping these things in mind when I'm performing. Also, because I am dancing as well and performing choreography, I have to split my breath support between hitting a note and getting accurate with my notes and the energy that my body needs to execute these movements in this choreography. So that's something I'm thinking about for my vocal load as well. So I want you to ask yourself, when you are approaching a performance, how long is this performance going to be? What are the expectations for this performance? Are you able to just stand still, or will you be walking around? If you're moving around, are you going to go as far as doing some dance moves? And then how hard are you going to be dancing? Are you going to be singing and dancing at the same time, or will you do one or the other? These questions are very important to ask yourself. If you're singing very light songs that don't require a lot of your effort, it don't require you to push and force out your notes as much, then you can probably go for a longer time. But if you have something that is going to be more vocally demanding, then you may not be able to perform as long, or at least you should not be performing a bunch of heavy songs back to back to back to back to back. What I'll say about the sets that I perform with the corporate band I sing with, it is a nice mixture of mixing vocally demanding songs with less vocally demanding songs. So I'm not singing all light songs or all heavy songs. And I do believe there's a good mixture of vocally demanding and less vocally demanding, or more vibey songs between the three singers that are on the stage. So I can pace myself. I can make certain decisions like, okay, if I have this light song here, 1, 2, 3, I can conserve my vocal energy a little bit because the fourth song is going to be very heavy and I'm going to need to push. You can give your voice a little bit of rest in between certain songs, depending on what your set is going to require from you. Now, if you have a shorter set, if you are a newer artist, a lot of these showcases give you less than 10 minutes. You might get 1 or 2 songs at these different showcases and open mics. So you might pull out your very best and your most demanding song. And demanding can mean how much force you're putting behind your voice to actually push out the notes. It could also mean how long of a phrase are you having to maintain. Like, especially if you're a rapper, being able to do a lot of words in one breath is something that's very important, and it is very impressive when you're doing live shows. So you got to think about all of these things. So now let's talk about form and technique. Are you singing properly? Are you making good choices for how you are approaching the songs that you are singing? And I am mostly speaking from the perspective of someone who sings in a corporate band. And I very much, when I was learning the sets, had to make sure that I was doing a mental note of, like I said, how much of a load am I going to push onto certain songs? Is this a very vocally demanding song, or is this a song that I can be a little more vibey with? So when you're thinking about your form and your technique, in general, when you are singing, you don't want to strain your voice. You don't want to be pulling so hard. You don't want to pop a blood vessel when you're singing. If you're having to do all of that, then you're probably either going after songs that are way too aggressive and probably just out of your range right now, or out of your pitch. or you are pushing way too much and you're not supporting your notes properly. And when I talk about support, I'm talking about how are you directing the air that you're bringing into your body and exhaling through the song, through a precise note. A lot of times when singers are not sourcing their air properly, you're having things happen to you like losing your breath a lot quicker than you should be. You're not able to finish simple phrases because you run out of breath very quickly. That can be a sign of not having good lung capacity, not having good breath support for yourself. And this is the question you need to ask yourself. What can you realistically do at a live show? What is your vocal range? Have you been choosing songs? Have you been choosing keys? Have you been choosing production that is complementary to your voice? Or have you been trying to kind of make yourself fit into a box that maybe you do need to work a little more at to get more neatly in there? And that's perfectly fine. You can figure out things like where does your range sit and what's most comfortable for you? Which keys are you more comfortable at? Which tempos are you more comfortable at? Which melodies are you able to keep up with? You know, these are all things that we should be thinking about as an artist. What I've found for myself when it comes to figuring out techniques that work best for me and how I sing most comfortably, I've put a lot of work into not only how I approach and how I interpret songs and how I make things my own, but I also put a lot of work into body awareness. Body awareness is extremely important because once you figure out how you want to approach something and you do it a few times and you have that repetition and you do it and you replicate that performance, now you have an understanding of, okay, my body knows what it feels like to hit this note properly. It really does begin to become ingrained in your body when you are doing certain performances over and over and over again. It's a form of muscle memory, if you ask me. So even with the corporate band I sing with, at this point, I've done the sets so many times that now I know how my throat should feel, how my vocal cords should feel, how my breath should feel, how my breathing should be around certain songs. I know what those things should be because I've had so many reps. I've done them so many times. So anytime I am at a show and there might be something weird happening with the sound or I can't hear myself properly, I don't worry so much about that because now I know how it should feel to deliver the song properly and to hit the note properly. When you get to that level of being an artist where you know what something is supposed to feel like, your performances, they 10x and you become even more sharp and even more clean with your performances. It's a really cool place to get to as an artist. And speaking of body awareness, let's get into recovery. I think of the body, and you should all be thinking of your body as part of your instrument. Your voice is the instrument, right? Or more so, your voice, your mouth is just where the sound comes out for your instrument. When I'm thinking about this particular illustration, I'm thinking about like saxophones, clarinets, a lot of brass and like woodwind instruments, right? They have the entire body. What the material of their body is will determine what sound they make. How long or short their body is going to determine what kinds of sounds they make. The different holes, the different openings is going to determine the sound that they make. The shape is going to determine the sound that they make. And our bodies are the same exact way. What people keep forgetting about being a singer is that it is a total body experience. Yes, the voice is coming from here, from our throat, but it's starting in our entire body. And if we're not taking care of it properly, if we don't have good habits, then we are damaging the main part where all the sound comes out, right? We're not able to give it the proper support. We're not able to perform and sound tip-top and at our best because we're not taking care of the instrument as a whole. Ask yourself, are you eating properly? Do you eat a lot of sugars? Do you drink a lot? Like a liquor? Do you drink a lot of coffee, which can be diuretics? Sugar dries you out. Are you eating a lot of dairy products like cheese, eggs, milk? That gives you a lot of mucus, a lot of unwanted moisture, unwanted mucus in your body. Are you working out? Do you smoke? That's going to affect your lung capacity if you're not making sure that you're kind of like balancing things out. I'm not here to judge anybody for what you do on your leisure time, but smoking definitely has an effect on how well or how badly you perform. I've seen a lot of people who have made no progress over the years recording songs because they smoke so much, but they're not drinking their water. They're not going for a walk or a run. They don't work out. And so their body is not conditioned for certain activities. And then they get into the booth and they wonder why they don't sound the way they want to sound. It's because they weren't implementing the right habits, the proper habits to keep their voice in a particular condition that would sound nice to their ears when they come into the studio, right? So think about what you're eating. Think about what you are doing to your body. What are you taking in? And when it comes to working out, I told you earlier in the video that hitting a note properly and accurately, it's heavily dependent on how you are supporting your breathing. If you are not able to breathe, then you're not going to be able to hit a note. Things like walking around your neighborhood is actually very important. Taking the stairs instead of taking the elevator, very important. Parking in the back of the parking lot so you can get a few extra steps versus always parking at the front towards the store, that's important. Running is important. Conditioning your body so that your heart is its most healthy and its most optimum. That's going to give you good blood flow, good circulation. It's going to carry oxygen through your body in an efficient way. And your lung capacity is going to improve. You're improving how you expand and how you how you expand and how you compress your lungs. All of these things matter for being a great and effective singer and performer, especially if you're the type of artist who really wants to put on a show and you want to dance and you want to do choreography and you want to be all up in people's faces. You know that takes a lot of energy to run up and down and side to side on a stage. It doesn't look that bad because our favorites make it look easy, but it is truly an athletic event to be on stage performing, putting on a show for people. So how are you taking care of your body? How are you taking care of your instrument? If you're not moisturizing, if you're not getting enough water into your system, that affects you as well. So just think a little bit more deeply about how you're treating your body, and all of these things play into how you can manage your vocals better. So we talked about frequency, load, your form or technique, and your recovery. All of these things are extremely important in how you manage your vocals, how you manage your voice. So I want you to take some time, rewind this video back a few times if you need to. I do have timestamps if you are watching or listening, but take some time to really absorb this information and think about, how am I treating my instrument? Am I taking care of my instrument? And the really cool thing about being a singer, being an artist, a performer, it's really a question of, am I taking care of myself? When we are taking care of ourselves, our instrument is taken care of. Nothing comes out of here without first filtering through the rest of our system, right? And that could be our body, it could be our legs, it could be our stomach, our lungs. And then you want to get deeper, it can be our mind. Are we emotionally well? Are we mentally well to be able to give great performances and to connect with people? It's very much a completely involved system. Like, everything works in harmony to give you your best performance. So I don't want you to think that you can just hop up on stage, and some people can, naturally talented, but to really give a great show, to really be a convincing performer and connect with people and give people a good show and to feel good about yourself afterwards, you have to ask yourself these questions. Are you taking care of yourself? Are you managing your vocal load properly? Having that body awareness and taking care of yourself, that's going to affect how you can approach performing. It's going to affect the decisions you make for when you're on stage, what notes you're going to hit, how you decide to do certain phrases. It's going to determine all of that. So this stuff is very important. Thank you so much for tuning in and chatting with me today about this topic. Make sure you like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you'll be notified each and every time I post a new piece of content. And in the comment section, let me know what you liked about this topic and/or suggest other topics that you would like to chat about. But until then, my name is LexC. Peace. It's you. It's you. You're the closest thing to perfect.
rhythmic motor.